coming back as a Lion of Judah that comes to bring judgment and make war. Contrary to popular belief, Jesus Christ is not returning to this earth to forgive anyone, because now is the day of forgiveness. Today is the day of salvation. Will you humble yourself? Will you come out from among them to detest the wicked ways of this world just as God does, and to align your heart with His?
Man, can I say something? It's like real quick.
To me, yeah, not the mic.
Look, bro, I appreciate what you're doing, bro, but half these motherfuckers are drunk already, bro, so they're not listening to you. I believe in Jesus. I got this shit tatted all over my arm.
Can you play a song? Can you rap for us?
I do believe in this too. I love what you're doing, man.
And I was hesitant, at first when I was a freshman in college to come to places like this. We got to witness down in Kensington. You know where Kensington is? Philadelphia, K&A. It's the only open-air drug market in the entire United States. And people were strung out. They were completely, they called it dipping, when they're out of it, man.
Yeah.
And I'd come up, we'd give them like a coffee and hot chocolate, a sandwich, whatever. I didn't think they didn't even open up their eyes,
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks later, they'd come back and say, hey, man, you gave me that sandwich when I was in need, man. Do you remember me? Do you remember? And I was just astonished. So I know that God can work and break through drunkenness, through a high,
Bro, trust.
No
I did the
one's
same shit
listening.
in Atlanta. That's where I'm from. Trust.
You
I just
guys
let you know, some of
are
these
both
motherfuckers
great.
are already drunk.
Me.
It's like, I praise you for
Hold on, praise me, praise him,
Yeah, of
He's
course,
worthy.
yeah.
God
I
reached
got
me
this
in my
shit tatted
brokenness,
all on my arm, so trust me. I praise you for doing it, you know what I'm saying? But and I'm not dishing you for doing
And
it.
how many people you think here know that they shouldn't be spending their time like this? Most of
A
them,
lot of them.
Right.
Probably,
And
I
that's-
say about 95% of them.
That's where I was at, and it was just that one person that came up and really called me out, that loved me enough to tell me what I needed to hear, not just what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And man, I hated that
What's
person
your
in the moment.
backstory?
My backstory? It's too long for me to share here.
Share short story.
Short story, I grew up very arrogant, very selfish, and I was addicted to not necessarily drugs or alcohol, but I was obsessed with things that are a lot more dangerous because they're not as easily identified, I was addicted to my athleticism, my affluence, my intellect, impressing other people. I was sold out for the world, and the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Root of all evil.
Because
That's what I tell everybody.
the difference between an addiction to drugs or alcohol, you don't have drugs, you can't have a drug addiction. You don't have access to alcohol, you can't have alcoholism. But if you don't have money, you can still be addicted to it because that's all that your heart desires. And so in 9th grade, God convicted my heart through a simple Instagram post. And I realized that I was arrogant, and I was headed to hell. And if I continue to live like that and be disrespectful to authority with the pornography addiction, that I was going to end up in eternity apart from God. And I didn't just give my life to Jesus Christ because I was afraid of going to hell. I gave my life to Jesus Christ because I realized I was my biggest enemy. And I need to be saved from sin. I need to be saved from hell, yes, but I need to be saved from myself. And after I gave my life to Christ, that's when all the fire started to turn up. Mom died in an accident. 10 days later, my grandfather passed. The next year, my sister was found dead at 28. And so I realized, man, this has got to be real. Because everything in life, the moment you start making the steps in the right direction, that's when the hardships come. You want to get healthy, you're going to start to be sore as you start working out. You're going to have to change your diet. Anything that's good is going to come with a cost. And so I realized if I just kept in my arrogance, kept in my pride, nothing was going to change. Life was going to continue to be easy. But if I gave my life to Christ, then that means I was going to have to stand and not be a coward, and lie to everybody else. And most importantly, be lying to myself and lying to God. So yeah, He changed my life, saved my soul. And I started preaching just to reach
good,
people,
That's
So,
good.
Well,
yeah.
to be honest, both of you, I don't really believe in God. My family grew up super religious, and they didn't push that on me at all. And I feel like I'm drunk right now as fuck, but I believe the same thing. I grew up on such a privileged household, and there was so many drugs, so many alcohol around me. But I still feel like everything that you're saying I can find without that.
Of course, yeah.
But you won't find heaven without Jesus.
Jesus is always knocking at the door. The door's your heart. It's just up to you if you want to answer it.
Yeah, you can find distractions and happiness in this world easy. But humbling
So
yourself.
why do you feel like believing in God or Jesus is gonna bring you there? Because if I don't
God tells me to do
necessarily-
everything that I want to do. God tells me to do the opposite.
How?
I just got, that's what's most important in life. The
But,
thing
how,
you
though?
the thing you want to do, that's almost always the wrong decision. Not you personally, the thing we want to do. The harder choice is almost always the better one. The path that fewer people walking down, that's probably what we should go on. The thing we don't want to do is almost always exactly what we should do. And when I got here, it like fired me up. You know, I realized like, man, Lord, you saved my soul. You know, I got to go out and do this. This is why you brought me here. This is why it was so difficult to get here. This is why I almost talked myself out of it, because there's a harvest here of people that are broken just like I was and need saving, you know, and then God's going to call you to do what you don't want to do.
Well,
Like, look at all
me,
these
like-
people, right? Look at all those people standing with each other. How many people are doing this? The Bible says we have to take a stand for him. And there's a hymn, an old hymn, it says, though none go with me, I still will follow. Are you going to be judged by the world and stand with God? Or are you going to be judged by God and stand with the world? There's the only two ways you walk through this life. You know, so you can find happiness, you can find temporary peace apart from Jesus. One day it's going to fade away. And we're going to stand before the judgment seat of God. And we're bringing nothing that we brought into this world. We came in empty, we're leaving empty. You know, we're not coming even with our body.
Shut Paris says dust.
Right. You don't have a soul. You are a soul, and you have a body. And this body's going to pass, but our soul is going to stand before God. You know, it's up to you. Eternity's on the line. That's not a fear tactic or a form manipulation. There's people that take decades to finally come to that realization. But don't wait. If God is really speaking to you and you have come to that realization, don't put it off. You know, my freshman year of college, just 7 o'clock at night, wheeling my bicycle home, never expected it. Jumped from behind and beaten pretty much to death. I almost died. Had a vision of Christ in the hospital.
Okay.
You know, you'd never know.
Do you feel like you became like believe in what you do right now because you needed hope because everything else was like kind of lost?
No, remember, my life was totally perfect. I had never faced a hardship.
Besides being beat up?
That happened after I gave my life to Christ. So I gave my life to Jesus before. When the hardest thing in my life was when my German Shepherd passed away in 6th grade. Or that I got a B on my Algebra 2 exam, you know? Life was easy. But after I gave my life to Christ, that's when the fire started. And that's how I knew it was real. That's how I knew it was genuine, that it was authentic. Because if I'm really going to make this decision, it can't just be a phase of my life. It can't just be a mouth profession. Like, it's got to be everything. You stand up on an altar one day with your future husband, it may feel good, great. You say your wedding vows, you kiss one another on the altar, you go on the honeymoon. Okay, what happens when your in-laws get cancer? What happens when you're short of the mortgage for that month? Are you still going to stay faithful to the commitment that you made, even when the feelings you made the commitment in aren't any longer there? Like, that's what integrity means, you know? So yeah.
And that's what you feel.
I don't feel.
In God?
I feel like going home. I feel like sleeping in my bed. Like, we acting out of our feelings, acting out of our emotions. That's what's going to get us in trouble. Yeah, we have to do what we know is right. Yeah,
And that's God for you?
God is right whether I feel like it, whether I want to believe it, whether I align with it or not. I've come to realize there's stuff in the Bible that I hate reading. I hate it because I know it means I have to change. And eventually I just come to that point, you know, I humble myself and stop being so stubborn.
So would you believe that when like, I'll look at it as like privilege. Like when I'm tired to work out, I look at it as like, there's someone else in this world that wishes that they would be able to like go work out. And I'm sitting here, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and there's someone else in a hospital bed wishing they had the privilege to be able to go work out. They wish that they were able to have everything that I do. And I go do something like that because I want to for myself, and I look at other people like they're tired. There's other people in this world that wish that they were in a position that I was. And I'm sitting here and I'm exhausted to go do this thing. Whether it's working out or not, that's just a good example.
That is a perfect
Like
example.
I'm just exhausted to be doing this. And I'm doing it because someone else is wishing that they would be able to do it. But, and it's not that I don't necessarily believe in God or religion or Jesus or whatever it is, but my family didn't raise me on that because they were pressured into this situation where their family made them feel like they had to do this thing, like they had to go to church, they had to believe in God. Their whole household was religious. They didn't want to push that on me. And I still have this belief because they told me that you can do what you want to do. But here is what I lived through, like here is what I had to go through, and I'm not going to push that on you because I know how that made me feel, like being pushed to do this thing. And it's different when you're like being pushed when you want to, like that's completely different. But when I go do something that I'm like, I don't want to do this, or like, I'm tired, I don't want to go to school, Like, I don't want to go to class. There's other people that wish that they were in my life.
Exactly
Even
right.
if I'd been like, I have the ability to go to college. Like, I have my parents that can pay for it. Some people don't have. It's like there's things like that, but I do it because I'm like I want to, and I feel like I'm gifted like in this way. But
so
I
that's-
still don't believe in that like whole thing about not so because I don't like want to, but just because I was raised.
And that's
on it.
exactly what I mean by that, is that, you know, I still go do it, and I end up realizing at the end of it that that was what it was best for me.
So
If
why
I acted
is-
out of what I wanted to do, it wouldn't be good. You know, if you stayed and just sat down, oh, I'm tired, I'll work out another time. Don't you leave the gym feeling a lot better than if you would have just sat right? Because God, He tells us to do the things we don't want to do because He loves us. He cares for us. He desires that we'd walk in discipline because discipline ultimately leads to a fruitful harvest in the long run of your character. You know, that's why without a challenge, there won't be any change. And so actually that desire that and reflection that you're speaking about is actually the very first thing that I started to really ponder. My dad would look at me and say, Joshua, you have everything. Why aren't you more grateful? And I was always argumentative. I always was provided a rebuttal for everything in life. Even when I knew I was wrong, I just had that attitude. And that was one thing that was like that poking in my heart that it just kept speaking over and over. And I was like, you know what, my dad's right. You know, I have everything and I'm not content. You know, it's because I was selfish. And that's what really started to lead me further in faith. That's what really started to lead me to question, is this creator really real? Is he really there? And before my mom passed away, she was teaching my brother about quantum physics. And then I saw that there's scientific evidence everywhere that there is a creator. And I saw that if I didn't believe in God, it was just that I didn't want to believe in God. You know, there has to be an uncreated, outside of spaceless, timeless, immaterial being that formed this earth. Now it's up to you and I to on that quest to find, is this spaceless, timeless, immaterial being that spun things into motion and just watches the world go into hell in a handbasket? Or is this God really the God who desires an intimate relationship with us and would go on a relentless pursuit to humble himself even to the point of being born as a humble baby in a manger and to suffer and to experience pain and hardship so that one day he can empathize with us and say, you know what, I died on the cross for you, you know?
Love you, brother. Hey,
I love you, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The advice, bro, start with Revelations. That's what opened my eyes. These folks are young. Just know, Revelations, bro.
I'll let you go, ma'am. I don't want to hold you up anymore.